Hello, I am Lisa Dalton, and you're watching Finding Peace Within, The Journey of a Smile. Today's segment, I wanted to talk with you about forgiveness. Many of you may not know, but I do daily affirmations on my Facebook page. And this week I posted an affirmation that says, I am able to let go of my anger and speak from a place of love and kindness to those around me. That post got 37 likes. What that told me was there are many people here who are still dealing with unforgiveness. There are people who are still walking in a place where they're afraid to be around people that have hurt them. They're afraid to talk to people that have hurt them. I want to share with you one of my experiences that I've had to deal with when it comes to forgiveness, when it comes to looking at the people that have hurt you, seeing them on a daily basis, and trying to have that intimate relationship with them. And when I say intimate, I don't mean sexually intimate. I just mean fellowship. I remember, I haven't shared this story in so long. When I was engaged to my husband, Stephen, and I introduced him to my parents. And that's been 8 years ago, 8.5 years ago. And I introduced him to my parents. And, you know, people do what they do with the information that they have at the time. And at that time, the information that my parents had about Lisa was that I get married and I separate and then I divorce. And so here I am again, bringing someone else to meet them, whom I'm saying I'm going to marry. Needless to say, that experience did not go well. There were things that were said about me from my father. My mother said little sarcastic things, and I left hurt. I left not knowing if Stephen was even going to marry me after that. But, you know, fast forward 8.5 years later, he did marry me. To God be the glory. Thank you, love, for loving me unconditionally. But after that, it took me a while to go back home. It took me a while to speak to my parents. I actually say I divorced them for 5 years because I was hurting so bad from the things that were said. Not only was I hurting, but I was hurting myself. Because when you don't forgive, you're really hurting yourself for forgiveness. Forgiveness is really for you. And I remember coming home one day, and I was listening to I Forgive You. And immediately, I just started to cry because I had been carrying all this hate and this anger and this unforgiveness toward my parents, the people that gave birth to me. And it was like a light bulb for me. Forgiveness was for me so that I could be free. In that moment, that instant, I said, Lisa, I forgive you. And I said, Mom and Dad, I forgive you. We have since had the conversation about what took place that day and how I felt and me understanding where they were coming from as parents. And today, they accept me. They love my husband. I go home feeling free. I'm not the adult child afraid to say anything to my parents. But just that one song, I Forgive You, and she says that it's for me. I forgive you for me. Because that set my spirit free. We can't live in peace when we're harboring unforgiveness. But as I was preparing for today's video, I found 9 steps to forgive for good. And I want to share those with you. Those 9 steps are: know exactly how you feel about what happened and be able to articulate what about the situation is not okay. Then tell a trusted couple of people about your experience. For me, it was not okay for my father to say things that he said to me. It was not okay for my mother to say negative things about someone she didn't know. It was not okay. And I did share that information with a very trusted friend. Number 2, make a commitment to yourself to do what you have to do to feel better. Forgiveness is for you and not for anyone else. And that's what I had to do. 3 years while I was in my wilderness experience, and the Lord was really dealing with me about who I was and the things that I've done, and finding a place of peace within myself. That's when I started to feel better, when I started to serve and I started to give to other people. And once I forgave myself, I really started to feel better. Number 3, forgiveness does not necessarily mean reconciliation with the person that hurt you or condoning of their actions. What you are after is to find peace. Forgiveness can be defined as the peace and understanding that come from blaming that which has hurt you less, taking the life experience less personally, and changing your grievance story. So, I wrote about change the story that you're telling yourself. So I was telling myself a story that my parents didn't want me to be married, my parents didn't want me to be happy, my parents didn't want me to be with Stephen. That's the story I was telling myself. And contrary to what I thought, my parents did want me to be happy. My parents did want me to be married. My parents did want me to be with Stephen. And my parents wanted me to find a place of peace within myself. Number 4, get the right perspective on what is happening. Recognize that your primary distress is coming from the hurt feelings, thoughts, and physical upset you are suffering from now, not what offended you or hurt you 2 minutes or 10 years ago. Forgiveness helps to heal those hurt feelings. Get the right perspective. Get the facts. Don't walk away assuming things. I'm thinking that a person said something, what you heard them say. Always get clarity. You can ask questions like, what I heard you say is, or is this what I'm hearing you say? And give that person the opportunity to express themselves. At number 5, at the moment you feel upset, practice a simple stress management technique to soothe your body's flight or fight response. One thing I've learned during my spiritual and life coaching training, that we have to breathe. Many of us don't breathe. We take breaths, but we don't breathe. And when situations come and you don't feel good about it, stop and breathe. And breathing technique, for those of us that sing, is breathing from the diaphragm. Just like a balloon, it explodes when you breathe in, and it comes in when you breathe out. So breathing is putting air into your lungs, expanding your stomach, expanding your diaphragm, and letting the air come. And that brings oxygen to your brain, and then you release that air into the universe, and then you find yourself calming down. Number 6, give up expecting things from other people or your life that they do not choose to give you. Recognize the unenforceable rules you have for your health or how you or other people must behave. This comes back to accepting people for who they are. Remind yourself that you can hope for health, love, peace, and prosperity, and work hard to get there. One thing I've learned, I don't expect things from people that they aren't able to give me, because what that was doing for me was setting myself up for failure. I was setting myself up for disappointment. So now I'm not trying to get, as my grandmother would say, blood out of turnip, because I know turnip doesn't have blood in it. So when you find yourself getting angry with someone, find out, did that person even have the capability of giving to you what you needed anyway? Number 7, put your energy into looking for another way to get your positive goals met than through the experience that has hurt you. Instead of mentally replaying your hurt, seek out new ways to get what you want. Stop telling the story. Stop telling the same old story. I had an opportunity to meet a young lady during one of my lectures at ITT Tech. And she had told this story so much, her entire class knew what the story was about. And my word to her was, stop telling the story and get a new story. Find a solution to your problem. And number 9, amend your grievance story to remind you of a heroic choice to forgive. And it takes courage to forgive. It really does. It takes, as some people say, putting the big girl panties on, putting the big boy pants on, and stepping up to the plate and finding the person that hurt you, even if the person is deceased now, just release it into the universe, release it into the atmosphere, and say, I forgive you. I forgive you for what you did, even though they aren't there to hear the forgiveness. You put it out in the atmosphere, and now you can walk with peace, and you can find yourself living whole. You can find yourself living according to the way you want to live. I pray that this segment is helpful to you. I will post the 9 steps again on how to forgive for good. And I just want you all to be happy where you are. Be happy in your peace. And be happy with your spouses. Be happy with your friends. And most of all, be happy with yourself. Once again, this is Lisa Dalton. And you've watched Finding Peace Within, the journey of a smile. Be blessed.